Welcome to our SNHU career presentation on things to consider when working with a staffing agency. Your experience here at SNHU is important to us. It's our policy and practice to create an inclusive and accessible learning environment. If there are any aspects of this presentation that presents any barriers to accessibility, please notify our online accessibility center as soon as possible at 866 305 9430. You can also email them at oac@snhu.edu. This video includes closed captioning for the hearing impaired. Simply click the CC logo at the bottom of the video as shown at the bottom of the screen. My name is Sonia Moffett, and I am a career advisor here at SNHU, here to talk to you about contracting and things to consider when working with a staffing agency. There are various reasons job seekers turn to staffing agencies or headhunting firms to gain employment, and usually it is a last resort move for those who have been experiencing difficulty securing employment, but maybe it should become a strategy as you move forward. Perhaps you're someone who is mid-career, unemployed and struggling to regain employment, or a new grad with no experience. Perhaps you interviewed with a company and never heard back from them. The wait can seem endless if you've been out of the job market for a long time. If you're thinking about working for a staffing agency, it's a great idea if you need to expedite your job search, or if you've been having a hard time marketing yourself to employers. There are rules of engagement when working with staffing agencies. The relationship between a recruiter and a candidate is a partnership. You both need one another. As a candidate, you should take the interview process with recruiters seriously. They have access to employers, and before they are confident enough to send your credentials over to the hiring manager, they must have confidence in you. This means that some agencies may have you come in for a face-to-face interview. In doing so, they are looking to assess your professionalism, your nonverbal and verbal communication skills, your confidence, your ability to make a great first impression, your interview skills, and they also want to know if you will be able to represent the quality candidates that they supply to this client. Our learning objectives will be as follows. Being a contractor, what does that mean? Leveraging temporary experience to build your career, and the pros and cons of contracting. A very important thing to remember as you work for an agency is the recruiter will be your employer, not their client. So always be professional when engaging with your recruiter. Becoming a contractor or temporary worker is a huge decision, but one that can work well for you if you're strategic. Before you jump into the candidate pool, though, let's analyze what it takes to be a successful contractor. The acronym here on the screen is typically used in the world of marketing, but really translates well when it comes to your job search. It is evaluating your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Because pursuing a job is marketing. It's marketing your skills, your value proposition, your competencies, and in short, your knowledge, skills, and abilities. You have to prove why you are the best person for the job while you are contracting. Don't be led astray by feelings of inadequacy because you haven't become official at the company yet. Position yourself to become official. Do this by creating value in your contract role and creating a demand for your professional brand. As a contractor, it's important that we reiterate how to make a great impact in the new position once you obtain it. You don't want to just go through the motions because you are in a foundational role as a contractor. It's important to stop and think about how to make yourself relevant in your new contracting role, how to optimize your position and your progress to make the transition into promotions easier down the road. Of course, you'll be working because of the task associated with your job that you've been hired to do. But as mentioned, you need to acclimate to the politics, the environment, culture, challenges, opportunity, the people, and all of the other variables surrounding you in your new contracting role. In addition to showing up on time and doing what is asked of you, there are other things that you should do to try to secure maybe a permanent position at the company or at least establish great relationships that you can take along with you as you progress in your career, either inside that organization in a different department or even outside of that organization through referrals or recommendations of those who you work for as a contractor. It's just something to think about. For starters, when you get inside of the company, you definitely want to learn from multiple sources. Some things to learn are obvious, such as the business processes there, their policies, their duties, and other simple and expected aspects of the job. However, you want to adapt very quickly to become a high performer in your contractor role. You'll need to learn things that go beyond the basics. So it's wise to sit down and get to know the experienced, high performing people in the organization to gain a better perspective. The next thing you want to do is analyze and assess. In addition to this, it is helpful to make sure that you are analyzing and assessing everything that you are learning in order to set your priorities in your new role. Some aspects of your new job likely require more focus, yet they may be areas with which your experience, knowledge, or strengths are misaligned. So, this might be an area where you can focus more attention to when learning to improve more quickly where it matters the most. This should be a continuous process as change is constant. And of course, when you get on a new job and in a new role, you're going to have to acclimate. So the faster that you can do that, the better. While you're learning, analyzing the data, and making your own assessments, you may want to start to formulate a strong idea of what you should be accomplishing in the first few weeks or months, but you should get a second opinion on that. So you want to ask your immediate supervisor at the client site what is expected of you in the first 6 months, or even a year. The best way to know what is expected of you is to ask and be sure to get clear answers. You want to know what specific and measurable goals should be accomplished and by what time, and what the key performance indicators are to monitor so that you know that you are on track. Finally, it's good to ensure that you're setting goals and creating a plan with the information and feedback that you're obtaining from those subject matter experts as well as your supervisor. Once you gain a solid understanding of your role, priorities, and expectations, and how success is defined, the key performance indicators, and what you need to do to set goals, now you can make a plan. And I recommend that you try sticking to at least 3 goals and no more than 5 as you get into your new contracting role. As you work towards your goals, you want to evaluate your progress and remain cognizant of all the variables that impact your objectives and performance. You want to adapt to any changes in priorities or unexpected changes. This can be typical, especially when you're working as a contractor, so your ability to be flexible and have a positive attitude is really going to help define you professionally. To assist you in being successful with these ideas, I recommend that you communicate often and effectively with your team and learn how each member of your team prefers to communicate. Because some people prefer email or instant messaging, while others prefer to be spoken to in person. It's also important that you ensure that you're asking a lot of questions. That way, you know what's expected of you, and then you can perform the job to their specifications. You want to bring new ideas and suggestions to the table. That's really important to feel comfortable bringing new ideas and suggestions. You are where you are for a reason as a contractor, and your team believes that you can contribute to the company's success. So, your fresh perspective to identify process improvements and ask questions about why things are done really would be valued. This is not to say to challenge everything that they're doing, but a fresh perspective can take routine activities and bring them to a new light and improve business processes. And then finally, this might seem very straightforward, but taking notes is always a good idea. When in meetings, you want to take notes, you want to ask questions so that when you're doing your work, you can go back to those notes and not go back to individuals because going back to ask those questions too many times make you look incompetent. But if you want to come across as more competent, be sure to take a lot of notes that you can review so you don't have to go back and ask the same questions that were already shared with you. Now that we've gone through some helpful tactics to encourage collegial interactions and showcase your ambitions as a contractor, and also to assist you in onboarding and acclimating to to the actual environment, it's important that we review some things that you want to avoid as a contractor. So, depending on the culture and stress associated with your new job, it may be tempting to participate in these types of activities, but the instantaneous release could have lasting impact in your an effect on your ability to advance in that organization long term. So just be cautious, not to complain, not to make excuses, and not to procrastinate by putting things off. These are things you don't want to do as a contractor. You want to make sure that you are being very responsible, reliable, and competent in your role. One strategic move you can make while working as a contractor is to start building your professional network. In doing so, you can gain critical industry and functional specific knowledge while you're working at the client site. You can also learn how to more effectively perform in your current role or prepare for your next career move once this assignment is done. You also can consider how to partner with individuals within the organization that you're currently working in or in other departments in that organization. And then you can prepare for future job transitions. So, if you are currently pursuing a degree in one area and you've made it into a company that you're interested in working for, but not working in the position that you want, this networking strategy can really help you to connect with other people and then prepare for those job transitions. You can learn more about what those departments do, what their expectations are, and also try to build a rapport with current employees. There are some pros and cons of becoming a contractor. As a contractor, we're going to go over some of the pros first. Establishing yourself can help you gain referrals and recommendations. I really love the statistic that 70% of jobs filled in this country are unadvertised because they're filled through professional referrals. So these are referrals that you can get from colleagues and managers that you meet while on assignment or at work. You can also get recruitment referrals and recommendations from your recruiter who will be able to advocate for you if you are interested in working for that company as a full time permanent employee. They can advocate for you with that hiring manager and see if they can help you to obtain full time permanent positioning. Other pros are improved feedback. When you work for a staffing agency, you get more immediate feedback from your recruiter as to whether the employers that they're sending you to interview with are interested in moving forward with you as a candidate, as opposed to applying online and hoping, wishing, and praying that someone will return your call or at least reach out to you or send you a letter or be more responsive. So, improved feedback is definitely a pro when it comes to working with staffing agencies. You have a recruiter working with you that can call upon and expand your search if working with a staffing agency. But you do want to mind your rules of engagement with your recruiter, which is to have a great relationship with them, always be respectful and professional. And another thing that you want to do is to be responsive. If a recruiter has made some calls on your behalf to their employer partners and someone is interested in interviewing you, and that recruiter needs you to update your resume and get it to them in a specified period of time, then that would be good for you to be responsive and make sure that you can get it to them as quickly as possible. Another pro is experience. Getting your foot in the door can prove very beneficial as you gain vital knowledge, skills, and abilities, and then experience that can be included on your resume as you move forward with your work history and your career. Another pro is agility. So, as a contractor, you can switch assignments, industries, and companies as assignments become available, particularly if you're not happy where you are and have gained enough experience to move on from that particular client. Let's face it, sometimes you get really excited to go to a new job and you get into the company and you realize that the company culture is not a good fit for you. So, being a contractor gives you the flexibility and agility to make moves to different organizations or departments. There are some cons, however, in working for a staffing agency. Your contract may end. And if the agency loses its contract or if the company decides to terminate yours, then you will be unemployed. Another con to think about is a lot of times staffing agencies are filling immediate needs for employers. So they may be looking for someone who has more experience and more specialized skills. So it might not be as easy to break into certain positions working through a staffing agency or placement firm because they're going to be looking for people who have a lot of experience. And sometimes you may not be qualified due to a lack of experience. Contractors also need to hit the ground running. And so, with the fact that many companies who are hiring contractors are looking for skilled employees who can hit the ground running, if you don't have the core competencies, then working for a staffing agency won't work for you. And you really don't want to hold that against your recruiter because they have to fulfill the needs of the employer. So it's never about them. So always keep that in mind as you go forward in engaging with them and building that relationship and rapport with your recruiter, because some people get disgruntled or maybe dissatisfied with the services of their recruiter because they don't understand the dynamic of the relationship between the recruitment firm and the employer who has hired them to bring in the best candidates for the job. So keep working with your recruiter. Most of the times they have multiple job openings, and the better you engage with them through the process, the better and higher the probability that they will be able to get you placed into a working situation so that you can continue to expand on your skills, knowledge, abilities, and of course, earn income in the interim. Another con is that the benefit package may not be as robust, and that is if they offer benefits. So while contract pay is a little bit more handsome than working directly for a company, the benefits may not be if you work for a staffing agency. So you may not get vacation time. In other words, as a contractor, you only get paid when you work. And if you are not working those hours, then you're not getting paid at all. Whereas a full-time permanent employee may have vacation time or sick time and things of that nature. There are some staffing agencies that offer benefits to their contract workers after the contract worker has been working with them for at least 6 months. But again, that is going to vary from agency to agency. So be sure to clarify what benefits are available to you and when they are available to you when working with a staffing agency. Now, another con could be multiple short term jobs listed on your resume. Recruiters are wary of candidates who list many short term jobs on their resume. It makes the candidate look unreliable to that recruiter. Remember that they are your employer and they work on behalf of their clients, providing skilled, reliable candidates who will show up for work and fill an immediate need. The perception is if you have too many short term jobs on your resume, that you're not going to be reliable in staying on assignment. So it is your job to help them understand that you are actually a reliable client or candidate. So we're going to discuss the job hopper syndrome as we wrap up this presentation. One of the ways to combat this misconception here, if you have been working on multiple assignments for one staffing agency, be sure to list the staffing agency as your employer and not the companies themselves. So, in this example, the candidate did list each of these assignments as employers. So they appear to be a job hopper because, as you can see, each of these are short term assignments. But if they only list the jobs and the companies that they worked for and the terms of employment, then it's going to give the perception that they were not reliable and they can't hold a job. So the recruiter only knows what you tell them about yourself. So it's important that you learn how to document this properly on your resume. So instead, they should have listed the agency as their employer as shown here, and then the terms that they have been working for that employer. So if you look on the left, you can see three positions and it looks like they had short term there, whereas on the right, they list the staffing firm and then they list the first date that they started working for that staffing firm, and as their termination date, they list the last day that they worked for that staffing agency. So that looks a lot better on a resume. And that's almost 2 years of employment. So that looks a lot better on the resume than it does when you just list the assignments individually. So another tip is, okay, what if I've worked as a contractor, but I didn't do multiple jobs? Well, in that case, you want to put next to that job title contractor in parentheses. In this way, as that recruiter is reading through your resume and it is a short-term job, if you didn't do multiple jobs, at least state that you are a contractor so they can understand that it was not that you are unreliable, but that you were just working on a contract and your contract simply ended. Doing these things will allow you to demonstrate that you were employed by one company and list the assignments as the progression in careers. This actually is more admirable because a candidate who keeps getting assignments from one agency is seen as a great employee. If they keep sending you new assignments, it means that you're doing something right. In conclusion, if you are thinking about working for a staffing agency, it's a great idea if you need to expedite your job search or if you've been having difficulty marketing yourself to employers. Remember the rules of engagement when working with staffing agencies and their clients. Always be professional, responsive, and reliable. Recruiters will advocate for you with employers if you're interested in doing a permanent position or if they identify one of their clients who needs someone with your skill sets. You'll be the first one they call. They will also try to place you again faster when your assignments end. And then also network within companies where you serve as a contractor. This way you can garner referrals and recommendations for future opportunities either inside or outside of that company. Thank you for joining us for Things to Consider when working with a staffing agency. We understand that this is a brief presentation and you may have further questions after watching it. Our career team is here to help you. If you do have any additional questions regarding today's presentation, drop in on the lunch bunch this Friday at 12 noon or 12 Pacific for an open Q&A session. During the sessions, you can also download supplemental documents and links to further explore this topic. Click the link below during either time frame to enter the Q&A session. When you arrive, simply type your question into the chat box and it will be answered by a team member on the spot. You can continue to engage with the advisor, download the additional resources, or you can leave the session when you're done. If you need more immediate assistance, feel free to reach out to our dedicated team of career advisors shown here to schedule a one-on-one career consultation. Our services are free and lifetime to our students and graduates. Our team can assist you with everything from your resume, cover letter, mock interviews, to the job search itself. Call or email us today at 888-672-1458, or you can email us at cocecareer@snhu.edu. My name is Sonia Moffitt, and I'd like to thank you so much for watching.